listener production.
Hi, Natarsha Belling with you and welcome to the afternoon edition of The Briefing. Coming up in our deep dive for some Friday fun as we head into the weekend, we take a look into why country music has taken over the world. We chat with two of Australia's biggest country music stars on the resurgence of this much-loved genre and why being authentic is the key to its success. But first, let's check this afternoon's headlines this Friday, the 21st of March. Treasurer Jim Chalmer has defended the government's response to the ACCC's long-awaited report into Australia's supermarket giants.
We know that people are still under a pressure and a lot of that pressure is felt at the checkout. And so we are doing what we can to keep the supermarkets in check at the checkout, and this ACCC report will help us go about it.
The report handed down a number of key recommendations. It also found Woolworths and Coles were some of the most profitable organisations in the world and were guilty of so-called shrinkflation, where they're charging customers more for less. David Littleproud has also slammed the government, saying Mr Albanese has never been genuine about real change and that the inquiry was designed for a government about to go into an election. Meantime, Coles and Woolworths are on the defensive, insisting they're not price gouging. Travel chaos for Bali-bound Australians after a volcanic eruption. Jetstar has cancelled a number of flights, with Virgin services also affected. Jetstar is offering passengers rebookings, while Virgin is warning of the possibility of further delays. Passengers are being advised to check their flights before heading to the airport. And in the US, President Donald Trump is currently shutting down the Department of Education.
In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education. And it sounds strange, doesn't it? Department of Education, we're going to eliminate it, and everybody knows it's right.
Mr Trump is set to dismantle the American Department of Education, saying it's wasteful. He will keep funding for disability and low-funded schools, as well as managing student loans. Now it's time to get into our deep dive on this Friday with country music legends Tania Kernaghan and Jason Owen. The demand for country music on Spotify has more than doubled just over the past 5 years, and its growth is outstripping every other genre in the music industry right now. From Beyoncé to Luke Combs and Chappell Roan, country music is taking the world by storm. And today, Tania and Jason share their thoughts on why a whole new generation is falling in love with country. In regards to the resurgence of country music, it is growing. The genre is growing at double or sometimes triple of what any other genre of music is in the world right now. For you, Tania, your family is country music through and through. For you, it wouldn't be a surprise, but what do you think is behind this extraordinary resurgence of country music and also millions of new fans finding country music?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. For me, country music has been here all along. It's never gone out of fashion as far as I'm concerned. But there's a whole lot of people, as you say, jumping on the bandwagon. They're supporting it from an artist's point of view as well as the fans. But I think at the end of the day, the thing that makes country music so appealing is the lyrics and what the subject matter is about, and the fact that the songs people can relate to. It's real life stories, It's not just cliche kind of lyrics. It's and throwaway kind of lines. It's stuff that people are living and breathing and doing every day. And when they hear people like Post Malone, who, he was a rapper, that's where he's come from, but he grew up near Texas, and as a little kid, he would have been getting a lot of that great country music in his DNA, and through his veins. And then I think when someone like him, when you've sold 80 million records, then you can sing whatever you want to sing. And it's great to see that I think a lot of these artists are coming back to their roots and what that traditional country, or that more of that country kind of roots, and really realising that there's a lot more to it than just, a twang or making it, hillbilly. It's so not that anymore.
Tania, you make some great points there, Jason. I agree with Tania wholeheartedly. The thing that I love about country music, and have listened to many songs over many years doing long country drives, it's the stories, it's the history. When you listen to the lyrics, like one that sticks out for me is Tenterfield Saddler. When you actually listen to what that family was going through in Tenterfield, you know, in northern New South Wales, there on the border to Queensland, you hear the pain, you hear the joy, you hear the stories. That's what it's about, isn't it?
It is, yeah, 100%. And Ten hit the nail on the head there, Tash, in saying that it's about the stories, it's authentic. You know, country music was known as country western, you know, and I think people pigeonholed it from, you know, Western music, hoedowns, stuff like that, you know, which, yes, we do have hoedowns, and country music, you know, you have your Thank God I'm a Country Boy and your grandma's featherbed and all that stuff, but it's country music never really got a chance in Australia to be heard properly like it did in America. And I think out here in Australia, we always run about that 10 years behind America. And you look at America 10 years ago, our country music was the biggest thing over there, you know, and I think they're starting to see that now in Australia. And we're getting a lot of our, like Keith Urban is an Aussie, you know, he's gone over there and done so well. And now the music industry of Australia are just seeing how great country music is because of the stories that it tells. Alan Jackson wrote a song called Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning about 9/11. And that song had a big impact around the world because it was such a powerful story that everyone could relate to at the time of that happening. So Ten hit the nail on the head. You know, country music has always been the best genre of music in our eyes, and now people are seeing it.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tash, I think too, when it's in an artist's DNA, like when they really like eat it, breathe it, live it, you know, a lot of these songwriters, you know, that are writing country songs, you have to live it to write about it, I believe, to be really authentic. And people can go and record a country song by putting a little bit of, you know, fiddle on a lyric in a track and call it country. But, you know, is it something that can really deliver authentically and wholeheartedly, you know, and convincingly? And will they have longevity in that genre, you know, or is it just a sort of splash in the pan and that's kind of cool today, but we're going back to jazz or blues tomorrow? I remember Keith Urban played on my very first recording back in the early 90s.
Oh, wow. And you make a great point there. They've lived it, right? So then they can authentically write the great lyrics that make the sensational songs later on in life.
Yeah. And I think if artists like, you know, Beyoncé and Chappell Roan, you know, if they can kick the door open to a different audience where they're opening the door to country music to an audience that, you know, the general country artists wouldn't have been able to get to, then that's fantastic. It's just making it bigger and better for everybody in the industry.
Your tour has been so successful here in Australia. You are now continuing this tour right around the country. Tell us about this. Firstly to you, Tania.
Oh, well, it was something that started off was about 2.5 years ago. Jason called me to ask if I would like to sing on a duet with him, an album he was doing of John Denver's music, a song called Back Home Again. I said, it's one of my favourites. And he said, would you like to do it as a duet? So we did that together. I recorded my parts in Queensland. Jason recorded his vocals down in Sydney where he lives. And the first time we met was about 2.5 months after that recording, when we shot the video clip for the first time. And that's when we met each other and we just sort of hit it off musically. We had a lot of similar tastes. And then we sort of, one thing led to another and the next minute we're on the road touring together.
Jason, for you, what do you love about touring?
Oh, look, it's just great to play live music, Tash. You know, it's one of those things that as an artist you can't get enough of because your passion's in music. Music's everything to you. Every song that comes on, you get the goosebumps, you know, you feel it, you cry, you laugh. So I just love getting out and playing a great show and having a lot of fun. And Tania and I on the Let Your Love Flow National Tour is all about people leaving the room happy with a big smile on their face and hearing some great songs as well as our own original songs. And Ten sings her hits from, you know, over the last 20 or 30 years that she's been doing it, and it's such a phenomenal career. And it's an honour to tour with her, to be quite honest with you.
Congratulations. Thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for all that you do in the world of country music and bringing joy to millions of people around our country. Thanks again.
Thanks, Tash.
Thank you.
And that was country music artists Tania Kernaghan and Jason Owen. And you can check out all the details of their national tour on their website. And that's it for this episode of the Briefing Afternoon Edition. We'll be back tomorrow with the weekend briefing. And on tomorrow's episode, Antoinette is joined by Independent Senator David Pocock.
Both parties want to be able to just lie in election ads and not hold themselves to a higher standard. But when it comes to stitching up how you receive money, how you can spend it, they've just totally stacked it in favour of incumbents and major parties.
You can also follow us on our socials on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast, and on TikTok and YouTube. You just need to search Listener Newsroom. That is spelt LISTNR. I'm Natarsha Belling. Thanks so much for your company. Have a lovely weekend.